The Second World War had ended, but peace was only an illusion. The ashes of Europe were still warm when a new kind of war began. A war not of nations, but of ideologies. Capitalism versus communism. The United States versus the Soviet Union. And while soldiers prepared for ground combat, another battlefield was forming high above the clouds, where the world's first jet-to-jet duels would soon decide the future of air combat. This is the story of two legendary fighters, the American F-86 Sabre and the Soviet MiG-15. In June 1950, North Korean forces, backed by Soviet weapons, stormed across the 38th parallel into South Korea. The United States and United Nations responded with force, sending troops, tanks, and aircraft. At first, the skies were dominated by American piston-engine fighters like the F-51 Mustang, veterans from World War II. But then, from the north, something appeared that no one expected, a silver streak moving faster than anything seen before. It was the Soviet-built MiG-15, and it instantly changed the balance of power in the air. The MiG-15 was a marvel, swept-wing design, turbojet power, and armed with deadly 23 and 37mm cannons. It could fly higher, faster, and turn sharper than anything the U.S. had at the time. Allied pilots were stunned. Their Mustangs were outclassed and outgunned. The skies over Korea, especially the region soon to be known as MiG Alley, became a deadly hunting ground. The Americans needed a new fighter, one that could match the MiG on every level. And soon they would find it in the sleek, polished frame of the F-86 Sabre. The North American F-86 Sabre was America's answer to the MiG-15, elegant, powerful, and revolutionary. It used the same swept-wing aerodynamic principles developed from captured German research after World War II. With its General Electric J-47 turbojet engine, it could fly close to 700 miles per hour and climb like an arrow. For the first time, the fight was even. Jet met jet. The stage was set for one of the most legendary duels in aviation history. High above the Yalu River, the border between China and North Korea, a narrow corridor of sky became infamous. Pilots called it MiG Alley. It was here that the F-86 Sabres clashed daily with MiG-15s in brutal dogfights that pushed pilots and machines to their absolute limits. Each side had its heroes. On the American side, men like James Jabara and Joseph McConnell became aces, shooting down multiple MiGs. On the Soviet side, secret pilots, often disguised as Chinese or North Koreans, flew under red stars, trying to prove the superiority of their design. The battles weren't just about speed. They were about strategy. The MiG-15 could climb faster and fly higher, but the Sabre had better control at low altitudes and superior radar-aimed gun sights. American pilots relied on discipline and teamwork, while Soviet tactics favored surprise and altitude. Dogfights were fought in split seconds. One mistake meant death. Every victory came down to who could outthink, outfly, and outlast the other. The jet age had become a chess match in the sky. By 1953, the F-86 Sabre had claimed dominance. Officially, American pilots scored more than 700 MiG kills with fewer than 80 Sabres lost in air-to-air combat. But Soviet records tell a different story, showing nearly equal numbers of victories. The truth, as always, lies somewhere between. What's certain is that both sides learned, adapted, and evolved at lightning speed, pushing jet technology years ahead in just a few short seasons of war. When the Korean War ended, the world was no longer the same. Jet combat had matured. The lessons learned from MiG Alley shaped every fighter that followed, from the F-4 Phantom to the MiG-21 and beyond. For both East and West, speed was no longer enough. Now the race was for altitude, range, and radar precision. The Cold War had given birth to the arms race that would define the rest of the 20th century. Today, the F-86 and MiG-15 sit side by side in museums, silent but still proud. Their polished metal tells stories of bravery, fear, and innovation. They remind us of the first time humans fought jet against jet, and of how technology and courage collided in the thin air over Korea. The jet age was no longer an experiment. It had become a way of life, a contest for the skies that still echoes in every roar of a modern fighter engine.